Hello everyone, and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Remy was downstairs. She could hear him pacing in the foyer, his boots striking the floor in a rhythm that revealed his panic. He had come to her last night, eyes wild and hands trembling, begging her to help him conceal what he had done. It was an accident, he had repeatedly whispered, as if the blood on the terrace could be erased. Luna wanted to believe him. She had once loved him fiercely and foolishly, in the way that only the young and reckless can do. But when she saw the body, love turned to something darker. Bill Spencer's voice interrupted the fragile silence. "Where is she?" he shouted from the hallway, his footsteps thundering closer. Luna flinched. Bill had always been a storm in human form, but now he sounded like a hurricane. The door flew open, and there he stood, red-faced, with veins bulging at his temples. Katie hovered behind him, her hand pressed to her mouth and her eyes wide with shock. "Luna!" Bill's roar caused the chandelier to tremble. "What the hell have you done?" Luna turned slowly, forcing her expression to be neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play games with me." Bill moved forward, jabbing his finger at her. "Remy is downstairs, blubbering about an accident. There's blood on my terrace, and security cameras caught you dragging something into the bushes at 2 a.m. You think I am stupid?" Katie moved forward, her voice trembling but steady. "Bill, please. Conclusions? Let's not jump to them." Bill spun on her. "My son's girlfriend has died, Katie. Steffi is gone and these two," he gestured wildly at the ceiling, as if Remy might materialize, "are covering it up." Luna's stomach lurched. Steffi. Of course it was Steffi. Remy had been obsessed with her for months, following her around like a puppy, convinced she would leave Liam for him if he tried hard enough. Last night, Steffi came to the mansion to confront him and tell him to back off. Luna had watched from the shadows as Remy's desperation turned into rage. One push, one fatal miscalculation, and now Steffi lay dead somewhere in the underbrush, her life cut short because Remy couldn't handle rejection. "I didn't drag anything," Luna explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was trying to help." Bill laughed bitterly. "Did you help yourself to an opportunity? For weeks you and Steffi have been having trouble." Katie's eyes shifted to Luna, searching. "Is this true? Did you plan this?" Luna met her gaze, and for a brief moment the mask slipped. She saw the accusation in Katie's eyes, the dawning realization that Luna had seized the moment Remy's temper flared. She hadn't pushed Steffi herself, but she had remained silent as Remy panicked. She whispered, "We can fix this," but what she meant was, "We can bury this." And by making that choice she had become complicit. "No," Luna lied. "I loved Steffi." Bill snorted, saying, "She was family. Family doesn't let family bleed out on the terrace." Remy's voice cracked as he spoke to the newly arrived police officer. "It was an accident, I promise. She slipped. I tried to catch her, but..." The officer's voice was flat. "Sir, we're going to need you to join us." Luna closed her eyes. She still felt the weight of Steffi's limp arm as she and Remy dragged her into the shadows. The metallic tang of blood had filled her nostrils, and she had gagged, but Remy had hissed, "Keep moving or we both go down." She had kept moving. She had helped him wrap Steffi in a tarp from the pool house. She'd seen him dig a shallow grave beneath the oleander bushes, his hands trembling so much he couldn't hold the shovel. And when he turned to her, tears streaming down his dirt-smeared face, she said, "It's over. We say nothing." However, nothing remained buried in Los Angeles. Not secrets. Not bodies. Bill stormed out, muttering about calling Ridge, while Katie lingered in the doorway. "Luna," she said softly, "if you know anything, tell me right now." Luna wanted to confess before things got any worse. The words clawed at her throat, desperate for release. However, confession meant imprisonment. It meant giving up everything she had worked so hard for, including the Forrester name, the mansion, and the life she had built from scratch. She shook her head. Katie sagged her shoulders and said, "There's nothing to tell." She left without saying anything else. Hours later, the mansion was surrounded by police. The yellow tape fluttered in the breeze. Ridge arrived with an ashen face, and when he saw the blood-stained terrace, he sank to his knees. Liam was next, his screams echoing through the hills as he realized his wife was gone. Finn, Steffi's husband, stood motionless, his medical training ineffective against the grief that consumed him. Luna watched from an upstairs window as they carried Steffi's body outside on a stretcher. The tarp had been removed, revealing her face, pale and serene, as if she were simply sleeping. Luna's knees buckled. She grabbed the curtain to stay upright. Remy was now in handcuffs and led to a squad car. He looked up at her window and their gazes met. Luna realized the truth at that moment. He was going to talk. He'd tell them anything to save himself. And when he did, her name would become public. She turned away, her thoughts racing. There was still time. If she could reach Remy before he arrived at the station, she could persuade him to take the fall on his own. But no. The cops were watching. Bill was watching. Katie was watching. The doorbell rang and Luna's heart stopped. She crept into the hallway and peered over the banister. A detective stood in the foyer, holding a warrant. Luna Hayes. He called. We need to speak with you. She backed away, breathing in shallow gasps. There was a back staircase. If she could get to the garage, she could take Bill's Porsche and drive until the road ended. But where will she go? She had no money and no allies. Poppy was imprisoned for another scandal. Finn hated her. Even Lee had turned away after Luna's last deception. The detective's voice became louder. Miss Hayes, we know you're here. Luna bolted. She dashed down the back stairs, her bare feet silent on the carpet. The garage door loomed ahead, and she entered the code with trembling fingers. The Porsche roared to life and she sped away, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, she noticed Bill sprinting after her and shouting her name. The city's history became blurred. She drove aimlessly, her mind filled with regret and fear. Steffi's face haunted her. Those mischievous eyes now stared blankly at the sky. Luna had not killed her, but had allowed her to die. She had preferred silence to screams, self-preservation over justice. Her phone vibrated. Remy texted. They're asking about you. I apologize. She threw the phone outside the window. The coastal highway stretched ahead, and the ocean was a dark void to her left. She pressed the accelerator, and the engine's growl drowned out her sobbing. Freedom was an illusion. There was no escaping who she had become. Headlights flared in her rearview mirror. Police. She had maybe a few minutes. Luna veered onto a side road, the Porsche fishtailing over gravel. The cliff edge loomed and waves crashed far below. She could put an end to it. With one sharp turn the car would plummet. No more lies. No more guilt. But she paused. Steffi's voice echoed in her head. You're better than this, Luna. Had Steffi ever mentioned that? Or was this wishful thinking? A desperate attempt at redemption? The sirens got closer. Luna slammed on the brakes, sending the car skidding to a stop inches from the edge. Dust swirled around her. She stumbled out, the wind blowing her hair in her face. The first officer approached her, gun drawn. Put your hands where I can see them. Luna lifted her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. I didn't mean for any of this, she muttered. However, the words were lost to the wind. They took her in handcuffs just like Remy. The ride to the station was quiet, with the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and red. They separated them in the precinct. Luna sat alone in an interrogation room, with the walls closing in. The detective entered with a file in hand. We discovered Steffi's phone in the bushes. Last text message. Luna, tell Remy to leave me alone. Could you explain? Luna stared at the table. I tried to stop him. From what? From loving her too much, the detective said, leaning forward. Love doesn't put someone in the ground, Miss Hayes. Hours turned into days. The evidence mounted. Remy broke first, spilling every detail in exchange for a plea bargain. He painted Luna as the mastermind, the one who had whispered, get rid of her, despite the fact that she had done nothing but fail to act. However, the jury did not care about nuances. They saw a beautiful girl with a calculating smile, one who had risen through the social ranks on the backs of others. The trial was a circus. The paparazzi camped outside the courthouse. The headline read, Forrester heiress's killer exposed. Bill testified, his voice breaking as he recounted discovering Steffi's body. Katie wept on the stand as she recounted Luna's cold denial. Ridge refused to look at her. Luna was the last to testify. She wore a plain gray dress with her hair pulled back severely. The prosecutor circled her like a shark. Did you help Remy Luna dispose of Steffi Forrester's body? Yes, Luna responded, her voice steady for the first time. Did you try to cover up the crime? Yes. Why? Luna's eyes were hollow as he looked at the jury, and then to the gallery where Finn sat. I was afraid. I thought that if I remained silent, the world would continue to turn. But it does not. Comes to a stop. And you're left with the pieces. The prosecutor smirked. Or because you spotted an opportunity to eliminate a competitor? Luna's composure broke. Steffi was never my rival. She was my friend. I failed her. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty. Second-degree murder. 25 years. In the holding cell, Luna traced the cracks in the concrete floor. She considered the mansion, the parties, and the dresses that were more expensive than most people's rent. She remembered Steffi's sharp and bright laugh, which echoed through the halls. She remembered Remy, who would serve less time because he had pointed the finger first. Months later, visit day. Finn arrived. He stood on the other side of the glass, face gaunt. I loved her, he replied simply. I know, Luna said. I'm sorry. He gave her a long look. Do you ever sleep? No. Good. He walked away without saying anything else. Years have passed. The mansion was sold. The Forresters scattered. Bill drank himself into early death. Katie remarried quietly. Remy was shanked in prison, according to a tabloid. Luna spent her time in a women's facility upstate, her beauty fading under fluorescent lighting. One spring day, a new inmate arrived. Young, wide-eyed, clutching a designer purse as a lifeline. She reminded Luna of herself once. What are you in for? The girl inquired. Luna smiled, her expression hollow. I let someone die. The girl shivered and averted her gaze. Luna had a nighttime dream about the terrace. She saw Steffi fall repeatedly, her body twisting in slow motion. She reached out, but her hands went through the air. She awoke gasping, the other inmates snoring a grim lullaby. On her release date, the gates swung open. The world outside was strange: electric cars, holographic billboards, and a skyline reshaped by time. Luna had nowhere to go. She walked until her feet bled, arriving at the beach where Steffi used to surf. The waves crashed relentlessly. Luna sat on the sand, the wind tangled her graying hair. She took a small box from her pocket, the only thing she was allowed to keep. Inside was a seashell necklace Steffi had given her years ago, back when they were still friends. I'm sorry, Luna said softly to the ocean. I should have screamed. The tide came in and claimed the sand where she sat. Luna closed her eyes and let it absorb her tears. A gull cried overhead. The sound was mournful and eternal. Luna stood, clutching the necklace in her fist, and walked into the water. The cold startled her, but she kept going. Knee-deep, waist-deep. The current tugged at her legs gently but persistently. She thought about Steffi's smile. Remy was in a panic. About Bill's rage and Katie's grief. She reflected on herself as both a girl and a monster. The water had reached her chest, her throat, her chin. Luna extended her hand. The necklace sank, leaving a glint of pink against the blue. She didn't fight the undertow. The ocean took her, as it eventually does with everything. In the silence that followed, the fog cleared, revealing a city that had moved on without her. However, the terrace remained stained. The oleanders became thicker. On quiet nights, those who passed the old Forrester mansion claimed to hear a woman scream, sharp and bright, echoing through the hills. Steffi was calling for a friend who had failed her. It was Luna finally responding. For weeks, rumors circulated that someone was leaking designs and whispering ideas to rival houses before the new couture line's debut. Luna had her suspicions, which all pointed to the same person. Remy. Remy was brilliant, impulsive, and always on the verge of disaster. He possessed the talent of a prodigy and the judgment of a spark near gasoline. He was already there when she walked in, sleeves rolled up, hair unkempt, and sketching with feverish intensity. You're early, he replied without looking up. I had work to do, Luna explained, setting down her bag. You know how it is, some of us like to earn our positions. His pencil froze in the middle of a stroke. That's a pretty accusation disguised as small talk. Then maybe you should stop hearing guilt in everything I say. Their gazes met, hers calm and measured, his restless and defensive. The rest of the design team pretended to be busy around them, but everyone sensed a connection between the two. It wasn't just rivalry. There was history, heat, and possibly a hint of admiration buried beneath the wreckage. Before either could speak again, the door slammed open. Bill Spencer's commanding voice echoed throughout the room. Which of you geniuses wants to explain why our designs appeared on a gossip blog before the press release was even issued? There's silence. Bill's presence was like a storm front. Expensive suit, flawless hair, and fury emanating from every pore. He tossed a tablet to the nearest table. A headline appeared on the screen. Forrester line exposed? Exclusive sneak peek at the next showstopper. Remy stepped forward. Sir, I swear I didn't. I didn't ask for swearing, Bill said. I asked for answers. Luna folded her arms, her expression unreadable. Maybe the leak wasn't internal, she said smoothly. Competitors have their ways, Bill said, turning his gaze to her. And you'd know about it? It wasn't an accusation, but it stung. Katie appeared in the doorway right then, drawn by the noise. Her calm energy was in sharp contrast to Bill's. Bill, yelling at everyone isn't going to help, she said gently. Bill's jaw tightened as he said, let's get facts before we destroy morale. Morale won't mean anything if the company is humiliated. Katie's gaze shifted from him to Luna, then Remy. Something was happening here and she could feel it, a drama underneath the drama. After the meeting ended, Luna lingered by the window. She watched Remy pack up his sketches, his movements sharp and irritated. You think I did it, he admitted finally. I believe you do a lot of things without thinking, Luna responded. Sometimes accidents cause more damage than intentions. He turned to face her. Are you enjoying this? Watching me twist? She smiled faintly. Not enjoying. Observing, he said, stepping closer and lowering his voice. Be careful, Luna. If you want to play with fire, don't be surprised if it burns. The words hung between them, electric and dangerous. That afternoon, Katie discovered Luna in the conference room alone, staring at her tablet. The leaked article had already gone viral. Katie hesitated to speak. You seem calm for someone whose collection might just implode. Luna craned her neck. Katie sat across from her saying, calm is the only thing I can control. Bill is furious. He wants someone to blame, and you and Remy are currently the only names on his radar. If you know anything, I know Remy's been reckless, Luna interjected. He's had meetings with people outside the company. He claims they're friends, but... Katie frowned. Do you think he sold us out? I believe he made a mistake, Luna explained carefully. And I think I can fix it. Later that night, the office was dark except for the glow from Luna's monitor. She had accessed the internal network and trace file transfers. Each upload left a fingerprint. And there it was. A single file sent from Remy's account 2 nights before the leak. Not to the press but to a personal server. Anonymous but not invisible. Her heart raced. She could give this to Bill or use it herself. For the first time, she saw an opportunity to not only clear her name, but also advance her career. The line, the credit, the future, all could change in her favor. When the morning arrived, Bill called another meeting. The tension was higher this time. Luna arrived late on purpose. The power of entrance was something she fully understood. Bill slammed a folder on the table. I've got something, he explained. Katie's been digging through the logs. Katie blinked, surprised that she hadn't said anything yet. Bill's assumption was typical. However, Luna spoke before she could. Then you already know who it was. Remy's head jerked up. You can't possibly. I traced the transfer, Luna said, interrupting him. The leak came from Remy's account. Gasps echoed throughout the room. Remy's face had lost its color. That is not possible. I did not send anything, Bill rounded on him. Don't act dumb. The evidence is right there. Katie stood, attempting to restore order. Let's not jump to conclusions. But Bill had already started shouting again, his voice echoing off the walls. You jeopardized everything our company stands for. Remy turned to Luna with wild eyes. You set me up. Her expression remained composed. If I did, you'd never prove it. The room fell silent. Bill exhaled deeply and stormed out, muttering beneath his breath. Katie followed him, her face pale from shock. Only Luna and Remy remained. Why? He demanded. You knew I didn't do it. Maybe, Luna responded softly. But I also knew no one would believe you. He looked at her, heartbroken. Do you think this makes you powerful? No, she responded. It makes me safe. He walked away without saying anything else, the sound of his footsteps fading down the corridor. Days have passed. The investigation concluded too quickly. Bill wanted closure, not the truth. Remy was suspended and his reputation shattered. Luna, on the other hand, was praised for her initiative. The next line was entirely under her supervision. However, victory has a tendency to curdle. Katie started to notice inconsistencies in Luna's story. The file timestamps did not add up. The more she looked, the more questions arose. She confronted Luna one evening after hours. I know you altered the records, Katie said quietly. Remy wasn't the leak. Luna didn't immediately deny. She smiled briefly, as if relieved that someone had finally said it. He would have destroyed everything, Luna said. He was sloppy and emotional. This company cannot withstand another scandal. That does not make it right, Katie replied. Luna's gaze remained steady. Right does not keep the lights on, Katie. Results do. Katie approached. Bill'll find out. You are aware of that. Luna turned away, her silhouette framed by the office window and the glittering skyline beyond. By the time he does, it won't matter. But it did, because Remy did not leave quietly. 2 weeks later, during the unveiling of Luna's new collection, whispers began to spread. Reporters had gotten anonymous tips. Backstage, screens lit up with incoming alerts. Exclusive. The real story behind the Forrester leak. Luna froze in the middle of her preparations. Evidence appeared on the monitors, including emails, security footage, and digital logs, all of which pointed back to her. Bill's face turned crimson as he read the first article. You played us, he yelled. You used me, Katie, and this company.